115 minutes. 0-0. Spain needed something, anything. Nico Williams receives it. He heads it back to Ferran. And just like that, Spain had won their second World Cup, the first since 2010. But here's the crazy part. This wasn't supposed to be Ferran Torres' story, because not too long ago, Barcelona fans were asking a very different question. Why is this guy still here? Ferran arrived at Barcelona from Manchester City with a huge reputation. Young, talented, versatile, and most importantly, expensive. Barcelona expected goals. They expected big performances. They expected the next star. And at first, it looked promising. His first Copa del Rey goal arrived. And suddenly, Ferran Torres had arrived. Or at least, that's what everyone thought. Because then, the goals disappeared. One miss became two. Two became five. And eventually, let's just stop counting. The confidence disappeared. The pressure increased. And every missed chance became another reminder that Barcelona had spent big money on a player who couldn't seem to find the back of the net. And then came that game. Chance after chance. Miss, another chance, another miss. And when it was finally over, Ferran was devastated. He wasn't celebrating. He wasn't making excuses. He was hurting. And honestly, that moment told you everything. Because behind the footballer, there was still a human being trying to figure everything out. But Barcelona fans didn't completely abandon him. Sure, they criticized him. This is Barcelona. What did you expect? But there were also fans who kept believing. They kept supporting him. They kept waiting. Because they knew there was a player in there somewhere. He just needed confidence. And maybe a manager who believed in him too. Then came the 2024-25 season. And with it, Hansi Flick. New manager, new system, new energy. And somehow, Ferran started looking like a footballer again. He looked sharper, more confident, more dangerous, and suddenly, the Ferran Torres everyone had been waiting for started showing up. And then there was Lamine Yamal, because if you give Ferran space, give him service, and put him next to a teenager who can create chances out of absolutely nothing, Ferran starts looking pretty useful. Honestly, if Darwin Núñez had Lamine creating for him every week, we might be having a completely different conversation. And while Barcelona fans were debating Ferran every weekend, Spain kept calling, again and again and again. Consistent national team call-ups showed something important. Spain still believed in him. Maybe Barcelona didn't always see it, but Spain did. Then came the 2025-26 season, and once again, the goals disappeared. Same story, same pressure, same criticism. Until finally, he scored. And Ferran had something to say to his own fans. He shushed them. Yeah, that probably didn't improve the relationship. But then, the World Cup arrived, and Ferran wasn't necessarily Spain's main man. He became something else, a super sub, the player you bring on when the opposition is tired. Fresh legs, fresh energy, one chance can change everything. And then, the final, Spain, the World Cup. 115 minutes, 0-0. Nico receives it, he heads it back. Ferran makes the run, and then, the moment. The same Ferran Torres, who couldn't buy a goal. The same Ferran Torres, who had been mocked for his misses. The same Ferran Torres, who had cried after one of the worst games of his career, had just scored the winning goal in a World Cup final. Football, what a sport. And suddenly, Ferran Torres was everywhere. Interviews, podcasts, press conferences, microphones, cameras. Everyone wanted a piece of the World Cup hero. Ferran Torres' stock was officially out of control. And then, Ferran started talking about Barcelona. He wanted the club to appreciate him, to remember the good moments, not just the misses. And honestly, you can understand part of his argument, because Barcelona fans remembered the misses, the criticism, the pressure, the games where one chance could have changed everything. But now, they also had to remember the goals. Music becomes more serious, because then there's Chelsea. Barcelona, Chelsea. The score, 0-0. Ferran gets the opportunity and misses. Barcelona eventually lose, and suddenly, that one moment becomes a giant what if. Of course, football isn't that simple. You can't blame one player for an entire defeat. There were other mistakes, other moments, other players, but football fans don't remember all 90 minutes. They remember the moment. And now, we're here. Ferran Torres reportedly doesn't feel appreciated at Barcelona, and he wants a new challenge. One destination has been heavily linked with him: Paris Saint-Germain. Imagine that. Barcelona fans spent years begging Ferran to score. He finally scores the biggest goal of his life. And now, they're celebrating because he's leaving. Football is beautiful. Football is cruel. And football fans are absolutely shameless. So let's think about this for a second. The player Barcelona fans once called a flop became a World Cup hero. The player who couldn't score scored the biggest goal of his career. The player who was criticized for his misses now wants Barcelona to remember his goals. And the fans who spent years defending him are now celebrating because he's leaving. That's not just a redemption arc. That's football. And maybe that's Ferran Torres' story. From Barcelona's problem to Spain's hero. From being questioned to being remembered forever. Ferran Torres, what a story. Now with that being said, will he be success or a flop at PSG?